Luka Doncic so far this season is leading the league in scoring, while as per usual, averaging a near triple-double. This guy has been absurd, as we've always known him to be, but this season he's taken it up to another level, to the point where I'm beginning to wonder if he might just be the best player in the NBA. Out of the gate, let's just address the insane numbers that Luka has been putting up through the first 15 or so games of this season. 34.4 points, as well as 9 rebounds and 8 assists, as well as 2.5 stocks, steals and blocks, on 60% true shooting. 34, 9, and 8 on unbelievable efficiency, and being pretty much the sole reason that the Mavericks don't suck. There's a pretty good starting point for being the best player. Over the years, Luka has taken notable steps as each season has progressed. After his first year, he jumped from a star to a superstar. Then in year 3, he went from rarely shooting mid-range jumpers to being one of the better ones in the league. And in year 4, he stopped being a defensive liability and was often a plus defender. Year 5, this one, he is in the best shape of his career, which has aided him in pretty much all areas. At this point, he is just straight up never a bad defender. Being a little lighter has given him more versatility really on both ends of the floor. On defense, he is capable of moving his feet a lot better, switching a lot better, and dealing with navigating through screens a lot better. But on offense, it's manifested as elevating his already phenomenal interior game. The added foot speed has given him more burst going to the rim than ever, while he has still managed to maintain his methodical approach. Having that burst as an option has given him further versatility. Luka gets a lot out of his slowness, very weirdly, so I was actually skeptical about how much getting in shape would actually affect him, but now he's able to still leverage a slow pace all the time, but adding the option to just explode to the basket has made him even deadlier. He's able to lull his defender to sleep with whatever slow and weird dribble move he's doing, and then whatever space that creates, he's able to get to the rim like half a second faster than he would have before, and that makes a world of difference. He was already one of the best slashers in basketball. This difference might actually make him the best. Another difference, which I actually frankly meant to put in the script but just completely forgot to, his post-up game has been way better, and he's been way more aggressive about getting into the post, specifically targeting mismatches pretty relentlessly and trying to take advantage of them. So there's also that is worthy of note. Also, while his 3-ball might be off to a bit of a slow start, his mid-range game has improved even more than it did last year. He is currently shooting 50% from 10 to 16 feet, which is about as good as it gets in the NBA. Granted, I do want to say that his volume has taken a little bit of a dip, which I'm disappointed in, but at least his efficiency has increased. So if you give Luka an open mid-range shot, he's taking it and he's making it. He's just not going for the contested ones as much as last year. All of this has manifested in him having the best 2-point percentage of his career, and in spite of shooting 24% from 3 on high volume, he has still had that near 65% true shooting percentage. So assuming he can turn those threes up to even 32%, which is around what he is for his career, then his efficiency will only further increase. So he's only really got higher to fly. Like, it's not like he's probably going to decline much. He can only improve from where he is right now, because that 3-ball has really been bad for him. But now let's compare him to some of last year's and still this year's top players to see where he ranks. Personally, I would take Luka's creating ability on the perimeter over Joel Embiid and what he brings to the game, simply because of the modern conventions of basketball today. A lead ball handler, especially a large lead ball handler who is capable of creating for himself and others to in just unbelievable degree. Those players are just frankly more valuable than most big men, and especially a more traditional type of big man like Joel Embiid. This is not to suggest that Embiid is not capable of impacting winning In fact, it's also not to suggest that Luka is notably better than Embiid, just that simply by virtue of the positions they play and the roles that they play, Luka is able to be more impactful. Obviously, Embiid has a defensive advantage, but I don't think that makes up for the playmaking difference that Luka brings to the table that Embiid simply does not have because he's not a guard and he's not Nikola Jokic, because Jokic is the outlier there. But even though I do say Jokic is an exception, I still do believe for that reason, as well as the fact that he is currently averaging just 20 points per game, Luka Doncic is just a hair better than Nikola Jokic. I truly think Jokic normally is probably right there up with him, but he has been a little slow this year. Granted, quite a bit of that is intentional in the fact that he just hasn't needed to score as much with Denver having Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray back. But overall, it's kind of hard to argue that you're a better player than someone who is averaging 14 more points than you are. It's possible, but it's not easy. Like, Bill Russell had, I think, a better season than Wilt did when he averaged 50, and Bill had probably averaged like 16 knowing him. So it's possible, but I just don't think it is in this case. Kevin Durant. At this point, Luka scores more points on just a tad worse efficiency while being a miles better rebounder and passer, so I think that kind of edges him out for me. Maybe if Kevin Durant was his Warriors self and he was just hyper efficient and playing the best defense of his career, there would be a case, but post-Achilles KD, I just don't think he cuts it. A similar idea applies to Jason Tatum, but at the very least, Tatum is a notably better defensive player than Kevin Durant is, and thus makes him a notably better player than Luka Doncic is. But again, it's going to come down to the playmaking difference. Now, if you personally valued the defense more so than the playmaking, I would understand that. Really, the other thing that I would add to it is Luka is just frankly significantly more consistent than Jason Tatum. My biggest issue with Jason Tatum has always been his lack of consistency, and we saw that manifest in the 2021 NBA Finals. I don't know why I forgot what year it was. But yeah, I would give Luka the edge for consistency and playmaking in that department, but I think we're getting a little bit closer here, especially with how dominant Tatum has been to open this year. Stephen Curry is someone I think definitely has a very strong case to rank above Luka. They're both offensive hubs, and frankly, I think Steph is the greatest offensive player to have ever played. This year, Luka is of course outscoring him, and his play has led to winning, meanwhile Steph's has not. Now, that's obviously not Steph's fault, and if you want to hear why, go check out my most recent Warriors video, but I kind of have to give Luka that edge just by virtue of the team having the more wins, and, you know, I do think they're playing on a basically similar level, so if I'm gonna split hairs, this is the hair that I'm splitting. But if you put Steph over Luka, under no circumstances would I find that ridiculous. But as for the question of if Luka is the best player in the world right now, well, I ultimately have to go with no, because the answer to who it actually is Giannis. So long as Giannis continues to play like this, Luka Doncic is going to have to take even further strides to override him, because frankly, the defensive difference that exists between those two is going to be hard to override when Giannis also scores the same amount of points on a similar amount of efficiency and also is a pretty good playmaker. Now, he's not quite the generational playmaker that Luka Doncic is, but essentially, I think the difference that exists between them defensively is far more significant than the playmaking differences, and that gives Giannis the edge. On top of the fact that we have seen Giannis go all the way to the NBA Finals and win it, just gives me that little extra more confidence boost that he is indeed the best player in the world. And with how unstoppable he is going to the rim, and with, to me, him being the best defender of the last couple of years, I personally got to give that number one spot to Giannis. So, is Luka Doncic the best player in the world? No, but he's number two, and being how talented the basketball world is right now, it's damn impressive. So, nothing to shake a stick at by any means. Are you the number two basketball player in the world? I didn't think so. Anyways, that is it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.